Howdy, 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 and more howdy to you, beloved. Welcome to the Lady Walker Show. I am Lady Walker, and once again, we have a gem dandy of a show in store for you. We are going to find out about the importance of voting. The importance of voting. Now, I am pretty sure that many of you already know that voting is important, okay? But you know what? I believe in constantly putting people in remembrance of what they already know, because sometimes, we have a tendency of forgetting those very things that are certainly important to know in this lifetime. My guest is all the way from Seminary, Mississippi. Yes, she is. Seminary. And she is certainly going to be educating us a little bit about the importance of voting. And to me, this is certainly an important subject. There was a time when I really didn't exercise my right to vote. I really didn't. And the reason, lame like a lot of other people, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's already rigged and all of that kind of stuff. They already know who they are going to elect. And a lot of people think along that same line. They already know who they are going to elect. They just want us to come out, and sort of reminds me of some of those, well, I don't want to put this out there, but some of those reality shows, I don't want to really call out any names, but some of those, well, like American Idol, Dancing with the Stars, and some of those other shows. I really didn't want to make mention of the names, but anywho, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, they already know who is going to win, but they let the people participate just so that the people can stay, excited about it and tune in to the broadcast. But I thought that way about voting. They already know who is going to win. They just want us to think that our votes matter. Oh my goodness, what a mindset. But I don't really believe that anymore. But even if I do believe that way, sort of like an oxymoron kind of statement, right? But I go out and vote. Bottom line, I exercise my rights to vote. Bottom line. Sometimes we may not realize this is really important that you go out and vote. How, Lady Walker, how is that important? Well, first of all, you and I, well, maybe I just shouldn't assume, but come on. Most of you know the price that many people paid. They shed their blood, they lost their lives to get it where many of us will be able to vote, especially women and minorities, okay? Yes, people shed their blood for us, lost their lives so that we will have a right to vote in this democracy. We live in a democracy, which to my understanding is you need the people to vote in certain people. When it comes to the government, we need to elect these people in these positions. That means we have a right. Our vote says this is your voice, this is what you believe. So you certainly want to make sure that you exercise your right to vote. And that starts at an early age, 18 years on. Now, of course, you can lose your right to vote because of certain things, but if you are a legal citizen here in the USA, thank God for the USA, we live in a country where democracy reigns, at least for right now. But anywho, if you're 18 and older and you don't have a felony on your record or whatever and a few other things, you can vote, okay? So voting takes place every 2 years for some local election and every 4 years for the president and a few other things. Now, many of us will certainly vote on that national level where you're voting to elect the president in. Again, there are local elections that take places too, and they are just as important, because let me tell you why. The person or the people that you vote into office will certainly have the power to make decisions based upon various issues that will affect your life. How? Well, so glad you asked. And let me tell you how, education-wise, okay? Some of you have kids in school. I used to have kids in school. I used to be in school, okay? And sometimes they can make decisions based upon how much money they're going to put into the education system towards the school that's in your community. And they can pass all kind of rules and regulations When it comes to your kids being in school, the tests that they have to take, and some of those tests that kids take, they really shouldn't, some of those laws they just not need to pass. Oh my goodness. But anywho, not just that, and I know I didn't explain that right, but just bear in mind, well, go and research it for yourself. Or better yet, I'll come back and be more versed on it. Anywho, your job, taxes. Now y'all know they can take taxes from here and there. Every little thing goes up. Okay, water bill goes up. They add a water bill tax. They add tax to just say utilities. They add tax to for various reasons. But your mortgage and all of that taxes are being added. When you go out, you buy a car, you go buy groceries, you go buy clothes. Your taxes can go up. And so instead of paying 7 or 8% tax, you may be paying 9 or 10 cents, because the people that you elect into office can say, okay, now we are going to raise the taxes. Now, of course, they are going to have other people in that office to agree or not to agree with that. But not just that, you got health care, and a few other things, road taxes, when it comes to renovating a building or redoing the roads and all of that. Y'all know there are a lot of bad roads here. There are a lot of bad roads, but those roads, they need money to get those roads fixed the way we want them to be fixed. So when you are driving in whatever area, it would be somewhat like smooth sailing, and you are not turning your car up or having a blowout because of some potholes. I know many of y'all have had that experience. So listen, the person or the people that you elect into office will have the power to make that decision. And that, beloved, is certainly going to affect your life in some kind of way locally. So local elections are just as important as the national election, okay? So not only that, she's going to educate us on the differences between being a Republican, being a Democrat, and all of that. And I think that is certainly worth knowing. I really didn't know a whole lot. What is it as a Democrat that you stand for? What is it as a Republican you stand for? What is it as an independent that you stand for, and libertarian and all of that? But it's interesting to know a lot of people don't give a care about getting into politics. You don't have to really get into politics to care and know that whomever is elected into that particular office can have a detrimental or a good effect on your life. And in the meantime, beloved, we got to take a break, and we are going to come back with Dr. Shelley Shoemake. We'll be right back.
My name is Dr. Shelley Shoemake, and when people say, what kind of doctor are you? I'm a chiropractor, and this is an area that is largely uneducated as to what chiropractors do, and they don't just pop and snap and crack things, or pop and pray, as some people like to say. We actually align the spine so that the brain can communicate with every part of your body the best it can, so it can heal everything the best it can. I like to say that God in your body does all the hard work. I just push things back in the right direction. But I have been asked to talk about myself, and I've been asked to talk about voting. And I've been a chiropractor for 10 years. I have a small little clinic in Seminary, Mississippi, a little tiny town right outside of Hattiesburg. I was born and raised there, and I have 2 small sons, Sage and Asher. Sage is 8 and Asher is 7. And I also help take care of my 2 disabled parents. And I love what I do. We see miracles in my clinic on a daily basis, whether it's with older gentlemen or older people, where people that should have already been in nursing homes that are still living at home, when people would have thought that they couldn't have been taking care of themselves anymore, or whether it's small children or even babies. We get to see little babies that they say they couldn't have been able to pick up their heads or move their eyes, and now they can, thanks to what God has allowed me to do in their lives. And it's a wonderful thing to see on a daily basis. And I'm so excited because my children have been able to grow up, and they don't get to have they'll have some of the same bumps and bruises as some other children would, but then mama gets to fix them and they don't have to run off to the doctor. I get to fix their ear infections at home. They don't have to go get antibiotics. I get to fix my friends' children also. That's a wonderful thing. And I've gotten to take care of several friends and family. They've got an ache or a pain. I get stopped at the post office, at the grocery store, wherever I am. But it's a pleasure and a privilege to be able to help the people around me and to try to educate them as to what chiropractic can be able to do for them. And not just, they know now that it's more than just the popping and the racking and the cracking. One of the most exciting things about being a Mississippian right now is the fact that our voting system is very scrutinized at this point in time. We are under a microscope. There has been so much controversy, and in a way, some people look at it as a bad thing. I look at it as a good thing. What some people are saying, oh my goodness, they're paying too much attention to us, they're putting us under the limelight. I'm actually glad this is happening, because every single vote counts. If these votes are not being counted correctly, then the people who made them, then they were not made in good faith. And your vote is a really, really important thing. And one person, one vote, that has taken this country a really long time to get to this point. We look back at our Constitution. That was something that people fought and died for. And at this point in time in our history, it's kind of been taken for granted. And there have been amendments to the Constitution that have been fought over just with blood, sweat, and tears. But it took an amendment to the Constitution to allow women to be able to vote. It took an amendment to the Constitution to allow African Americans to be able to vote. And now we're in other countries and we're having our people's lives our blood shed in other countries so that they can vote. In some countries, every time that you go vote, you have to dip your finger in the inkwell and it's dyed for a couple of days. And some people are proud of this process and they come out and they're like, look, I voted, look, I voted. And then some people come out and they hide it because they're afraid for their life if they show that they voted. But it was worth risking their life to come out of their home that day, out of their shelter, out of their cover, to come out and place that vote because it meant something to them. And we have people that sit on their couches and their chairs, oh, it's raining, I won't bother. Oh, it's too hot today, I won't bother. Yet these are the same people who, when something controversial happens and something goes wrong in Congress, whether it's the state Congress or the U.S. Congress, oh, I don't like what they did. Well, then you really don't have a say-so because you really didn't come out and do anything about it. When you had the chance with your vote, when people have died for that vote, and there are other people in other countries that would die to have their chance to vote, that they're being ruled by tyrants and dictators and people that make their decisions for them. And they would give anything to be able to pick who is going to help make the decisions for them. And I just cannot believe that there are people who just sit back and throw that away. And at this point in time, while it's under a microscope, I say yay, because I want to know that my vote counts. I want to know that your vote counts. I want to know that every single vote, it gets counted correctly. Right now, they're finding out that absentees, they never got counted. They were just put in a pile. They're finding out that laws that are on books, no one paid them attention. Well, if it's a law and it's on a book, then it should be paid attention to, right? Because why is that law in the book? And if it's not going to be paid attention to, then it should be amended or changed. So these things are being under a microscope. They're being taken care of, I hope, because I know that in future generations, I want my children to grow up and know that when they make a vote, that their votes count. Every single one, every single time, because we all deserve that. And that's what our country stands for.
You are watching the Lady Walker Show, and my guest tonight is Dr. Shelley Shoemake, and she is sharing with us, or should I say, educating us about the importance of voting. Okay, here she is, Dr. Shelley Shoemake.
I've been asked to introduce a few things about the voting process and the election process. And sometimes you know these things, sometimes you don't. I know that I've had to learn. My father has been a wonderful political person in my life, and one of the things that he's always done for me is taken the local newspaper before an election and sat down with me. Most of the time we've agreed on the candidates and who we would, and every once in a while we didn't. But that's the beautiful thing about once I got 18 and I got my voter registration card, he couldn't tell me who to vote for. And there's actually been times when me, mother, and my dad, we would all vote for different people and pretty much cancel each other's votes out. But that was our rights, because that's what a wonderful country we live in. But most of the time before an election, in the local newspaper, if they don't have a sample ballot, they will at least have a list of everybody running for every position that's coming up for a vote on that particular ballot. And so we've always taken those, and we've always sat down with those. There's been a couple of times I've actually folded up and snuck it in my pocket because I couldn't remember all the names. I got a little bit better as I got a little bit older. Also, it was a lot later on in my voting that I began to understand the differences in the parties, because I would hear Daddy say things and I would hear people on TV say things, and I really didn't know what I was or why I was or what I believed. But just in case you were wondering, and in case I could help anybody out, you'll hear Democrat and you'll hear Republican. And some people are hardcore Democrat or they're hardcore Republican. And then you'll hear liberal and you'll hear conservative. Those pretty much go together. You're usually a Democrat or a liberal, or you're usually a Republican or a conservative. Now, that does not always hold true, but most of the time it does. The Democrats lean what they would call left. When you hear left things, when you hear about these people on TV talking, and they believe a little bit more in the giving of things, and they believe they're a little bit looser with the nation's purse strings, shall we say, and they believe in tightening up defense. And what are some more things that I could say? Some people call them tree-hugging liberals. I don't think that's right, because not everybody believes the same. But they are a little bit greener. You will hear the people talk about the environment, whether it's butterflies, whether it's trees, or whether it's oil that's been spilled in the oceans. Now, when you look at the right, or your conservatives, or your Republicans, they are tighter on the nation's purse strings. They're the ones that believe in less taxes, less when it comes to giving out things, but they believe in a better defense system for the country. And it's not that they don't care about the environment, but they also believe that we need the oil, and that we need the natural gas, and that we need the coal. And yeah, there might be a butterfly that doesn't quite make it, or a tree that doesn't quite make it, and sometimes people get upset about that. So that's why you have people on what they call both sides of the aisle. Evidently in Congress there's an aisle down the middle, and you got some sitting on one side, some sitting on the other side, and darn, they argue a lot. Then you have people called independents. They don't claim to be either one. They have some belief systems of either one, and when they run, they can fill out their paperwork to run, but they have to have at least 400 sign signatures of people that think that they should be running for their office. And then when they run, they don't have to vote either way. They can pick what they want to, as long as the people of their state or their county or wherever they're running believes in them. There's another party that not a lot of people talk about, the Reform Party. I personally look at them as a little bit greener Republican. They're still conservative. Most of the ones that I've met so far have been Christian, and they still believe in paying attention to the environment, but not so much that you don't end up getting the power and the gas and the coal and the oil and the things that you need to take care of our country. So they look at both sides of things. Like right now, they've got some really interesting theories on the Keystone pipelines. So some of the research that has been done on that has been quite fascinating to me. But so I guess that's the political parties in a nutshell. And another thing is you're going to have your local elections, sheriff, tax collector, but you're also going to have your big things like senators and presidents. They may be all held the same Tuesday. And you need to get out, because electing your sheriff in your county is just as important as electing your president for your nation. And if you stay home because you just didn't feel up to it that day, or the sun wasn't shining, or your car wasn't running that good, get your friend to pick you up, take you some Tylenol, get you an umbrella, do whatever you need to do, because it really is that important. And if you don't understand, if you see a commercial on TV and you got some questions about a candidate, if you're computer savvy, most of them have websites. If you're not computer savvy, some of them have phone numbers. Most of us have a friend that they're really good at either politics or computers, that I'm sure if you ask someone in your church or in your neighborhood, they would be glad to help you. They would answer some questions or help you get on the computer, because know your candidates, know your community, but most importantly, know what's going on in your nation, because these are your votes and these are your people. And if it's going to be your community, then you have a say-so in your sheriff, and you have a say-so in your tax collector, and you have a say-so in what's going on. And if it's your state, then you have a say-so in your senator, and you have a say-so in your representative. And if it's your country, then you have a say-so in your president, and you have a say-so in all these other things. And take a look inside yourself and decide, well, am I liberal? Am I conservative? Do I believe this way? Do I believe that way? Am I worried about the trees? Or am I worried about the oil wells? Or am I kind of a little bit of both? And because these are your own decisions, but this is your country. And these are your votes. And these are our children. And it's their future. And more than anything, that's really what matters. And if we don't do something about it right now and make good decisions now, then we're really going to be sorry later on. So please get out there and vote. Please don't take it for granted. And please don't be the person that sits on the couch and fusses later on, and then you weren't the person that got out and voted.
Welcome back, beloved. Thanks, Atria, for staying with us. Okay, my guest tonight is Dr. Shelley Shoemake. Okay, all the way from Seminary, Mississippi. Now, she has been educating us on voting, the importance of voting. And I know that sometimes it's not always easy when it comes to, now who should I vote for? Really, you really have to get out there and via computer or via the internet or whatever, from maybe the newspaper or some other kinds of media, that you can learn about the people or the candidates who are running for a certain position. as I said before, that voting is important. And I like this definition that someone has written about what voting is. I love it. I love it. It's somewhat easy. Voting is one of the fundamental processes which is instrumental in the development of a healthy democracy. Beloved, we do live in a democracy, and I would like to thank God for that, because otherwise we'll be living in a communist country. And I'll tell you what, that is where the people really don't get a chance to voice their opinion or voice who they want to elect. No, they don't get that right. But we have that right. Remember I said in the opening that there are people who lost their lives and shed blood for we can partake in the voting rights like other people. There are so many people. And I said earlier, one of the reasons why I didn't vote, and that was because I didn't think that it matters. And there are many, many reasons why people don't vote, many, many reasons. And some of them may seem somewhat legitimate, but it is holding you back from exercising your right. And then when somebody wins who you do not want in office, what do? You start complaining about that person winning. Listen, beloved, if you want a particular person to win, you need to get out and exercise your rights, your right to vote. That person may win or that person may not, but at least you are exercising your right to vote. So when voting comes, find out when it is, where your poll, where you are supposed to vote, and go out there and vote. And not only that, for some of you, you have the resource you need, whether it's via internet, even some of y'all got it on your phone, your iPad, and all of that kind of stuff. Go into the internet and find out whatever you need to know about the candidates and what is a Democratic, what is a Republican, what is an independent person, libertarian, all of that kind of stuff, because everybody who vie for your vote really doesn't have your best interest at heart. Okay? In the meantime, beloved, I gotta go. It's been real. I too can go on and on and on about the importance of voting, but I am not going to do that. Maybe, as I said before, I'll come back and lay it on the line a little bit, because this is an important thing. So you do not want to be remiss in not voting. I know, regardless of what your reason. The only reason I can see that you are not voting is that you're dead, or you have a felony on your record and you can't vote or whatever. Okay, I gotta go. It's been real. Thanks a trip for tuning in, and I will see you next time on the Lady Walker Show. Ta-ta.